He's also listening off of the lovely Bocas. Say hello to Godzilla. Rawr. Anyhow. Alright, so let me pause this. The Fosi Audio MC331. Say that 10 times fast. Anyhow, so I have it paired with a Weem Pro, which is what was sitting on top of. Sorry for the random craziness and the chaos of my on top of my setup here. But this is my KEF setup, and someone was asking about what my room kind of looks like. So this is my little kind of near field KEF setup that I have, and I usually use it with the name and the lovely Hollow Audio Spring 3. But today I have the Fosi Audio MC331, which is kind of like a do-all amp, DAC. It has, I don't know if you can kind of see it there, but it has Bluetooth, it has USB, optical, coaxial, and RCA, little headphone out right there. It has a dust there. It has a treble and a bass knob, then obviously your volume knob, and you can then press this in to switch between the different settings there. The overall look of the back, sorry, a little rat's nest, I was playing around back here, but I actually have this Fosi powering the KEF solo. I have an optical in going in from the Weem, and so that's kind of where I'm at listening wise with the Fosi MC331. And sorry, let's spin this around. Woo, little dance. And so I'm using the Osmo. I was actually going to do another video on something else today, but I kind of ran out of time, the holidays, all that fun stuff. And so, and also I have a somewhat of a deadline with the Fosi. They have, so I had to kind of do a quick run and gun real quick. So I will be pushing off the Gremlin for later, but back to the Fosi Audio MC331. Fosi did send this out to me to check out and do a demo on. They are not asking me to say or do anything other than my honest opinion regarding the Fosi Audio MC331. Naming conventions, kind of nuts. But anyhow, the Fosi is pretty impressive for basically being, I think it's like around $100, and I think there's going to be a sale for holidays. Everything's on sale right now for the holidays, but they're having a sale. I'll try to link the stuff down below for the Fosi if you're interested in it. I know it's got somewhat of a interesting rap regarding kind of like cheaper audio, and it is. It's a cheap audio device. It's not super expensive. It's I think around $100, similar to the Gremlin. The thing that the Fosi does is it's a speaker out all in one, and it has, like I said, those treble and bass controls, which is kind of nice for the EQ, and the overall build is pretty nice. It has these small little tubes in there. I don't know if you can get that there. And there's a little bit of residue from the little sticker that I was messing with or had to peel off, but that's not a scratch. It's residue from a sticker. Also dope, it has this lovely VU meter, and I actually dig this kind of like painted on copper like ring that goes around here, and then on the volume knob there, and then also on the rings themselves here. You can't really see it because I have this light going on it, but actually the glow kind of pops up from the top. I kind of like that look. And then the tubes themselves are these kind of screw in, which is kind of a cool little feature for overall build and that kind of thing. It's like a cool screw-in deal. And then the tubes, these little tiny guys here. I can't remember the tube name off the top of my head, but they're just oh my gosh. Oh, how am I gonna get this in here? But the tubes are just these little tiny guys. I believe they're similar to, if you guys remember the eddy current from Drop from like way back. It's the same tubes from those, basically. Ooh, look at that. Tracking wasn't working so good. Anyhow, it's the same tubes from that little guy. Like the little tiny tubes. And overall, the build is, I don't know if you can, it's like a aluminum build quality. A little bit hollow sounding. Volume, or the knobs themselves are actually pretty pretty decent. They feel decent, nothing crazy. The volume pod itself has a little, you can't hear it, but it has a little like notch system. You can kind of see it. Well, here you go. Maybe you can hear if I... Super awkward trying to get all close with this Osmo and the little mic there. So dumb. Anyways, just do this fun, quick video here. And the VU meters are pretty great as far as like that look. I've always thought VU meters are just pretty, super pretty. Always a cool thing to have. The device itself, I mean, if my hand's any scaled, also the Weem, it sits right there on top of the Weem. So it's about the same size as a Weem Pro, and the the overall build is decent. Like, I don't think there's any major problems with the build as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's a decent build. It's, you know, aluminum, what have you, and then the speaker outs are basically made for banana plug style, or like the really thin ones go in there, and then you could pull them out and you can like have the ones that you can like wrap a cable around as well. It's the same kind of design there. Overall build quality, I'd say, is solid. It's not anything to scream home about or anything like that. The paint job is pretty decent on the metal there. Yeah, no major concern regarding build. Aesthetic, I actually dig the aesthetic though. The aesthetic, I think, is rather pretty. I mean, it sits up there quite nice. It actually matches the hollow stuff a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I think the aesthetic is nice, and it looks, you know, I think it looks pretty good for like a little desktop all-in-one for around $100. And then with the deal on sale, I think it goes below that, but don't quote me. I'll have to link below. I also played pretty heavily. Oh, if I, don't track me. Okay, it's not gonna work. Here we go. So I was also listening with the Bocas, and to go into the audio side of the house, the audio is very neutral. It's very clean, and it's also a little thin sounding, but you can kind of get around that with that bass, like the bass and the treble. You can kind of fine tune it to what you think is the better sound for your profile or what you like. So there's that. The other thing I found was that the staging, especially with headphones, was very collapsed. It's not horrible. The imaging's fine. Everything's pretty decent sounding. It's not like the best I've ever heard, but it's definitely not the worst. I've actually was pretty impressed with overall sound quality. It just is a little bit on the thinner side in regards to like, just like there's not like a richness there that I'd prefer a little more richness in the sound signature. But overall, you can kind of fine tune that with the bass and the treble, but it's still, even with that, was a little bit on the thinner side for my personal preference. But it does, I mean, that being said, it's also a $100 product that's doing a lot. Like, it has a DAC, it has all those inputs and outputs, or basic outputs for like speakers and RCA, and then it's got the headphone outs, and it even has a little pre-out with a little headphone pre-out. So it has a little 3.5. So you'd have to do like a 3.5 to an RCA kind of pre-out, so you can make it into a pre-out for like your speakers or headphones or that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's got a ton of functionality, and I mean, for a budget file thing, like, that's a tough one to beat. It's really nice as regarding that part of the house. Who's it for? Final thoughts. I'd say if you're looking to get your kid into some audio, with especially tubes, or they have some pretty decent, easy to drive speakers. Though, that being said, that was just powering the Kefs at the beginning of the video. No problem there. And also, the music I was playing was from my buddy Don. I'll link his Spotify playlist down below as well. He does a lot of cool stuff. So, and he gave me permission to use his music, so I am going to use it. And I was using it in the intro, but listening to the speakers. That was actually coming from the Kefs. Not sure how good that came out through this thing, but yeah. So that was the Fosi Audio playing through the Kefs, and it powers it pretty decently. Like, I was pretty impressed with like the overall imaging but the stage is definitely more on the smaller side. Let's see, the imaging, and the kind of detail is there. It's very neutral and very, I still think it's a little bit on the thin side though, even with speakers, and the headphones especially. The stage does get collapsed a lot more, but the imaging is decent, and it still has a little bit of that magic with the tubes, so I think that helps a bunch with like that kind of bringing things back with a little bit more of that tube magic, I guess. But overall, who I think it's for, I think it's personally, it's like a cool gift for someone getting into the hobby, or some college kids, or somebody that's, or if you're just on a budget, or if you want something that's pretty cheap that you can take to the office, or something along those lines. I mean, and it's tiny, so I mean, technically you can even make it like a little portable travel setup if you really wanted to, and it's, you know, cheap enough to where you're not going to stress overtly about it, and it's pretty, so you can put it on a desk and not think about it. And it's, I don't know, I think I dig the overall aesthetic and build. Sound is not my favorite thing, but it's not horrible, and I could easily see it being something that a lot of people would get along with just fine. Like, it's good enough, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like that thing that's going to it's not going to wow you, but it's good enough, and it does its job, and it does it across multiple things, like the Kefs to the like headphones and that kind of thing. So yeah, overall pretty impressed with it. And yeah, this is just another quick video. I'm going to try and keep doing these, and I'm actually digging this little Osmo 3 here for doing this kind of a quick little videos. So let's do another faux B-roll of the little Fosi, am I saying that right? Who knows? I suck at this pronunciation. The Fosi Audio MC331, and this is an all-in-one. If I can get get it right, Fosi MC331, and this is an all-in-one DAC amp pre-unit with, you know, tubes. A tube hybrid, I believe, technically, but it has, you know, speaker outs on the back. It has RCAs, it has opticals, coax, it's got the whole suite there. So it's a tiny little fun little device, and for, you know, around $100 to $100 and something or less, depending on the sale. I mean, kind of a hard thing to beat regarding like that kind of like functionality to performance wise, and it does its job. Like, I don't think it's a bad sounding, but it's definitely not the best sounding. But I wouldn't expect it to be with that price point and what have you. So, but overall, I'd say final thoughts are it's definitely for somebody on a budget, and or somebody getting into the hobby and wants to try out tubes maybe, or just kind of wants to play with something with speakers and that kind of thing. And fantastic little device for that, kind of a dual, cheap dual device all in one. So with that, I'll let everybody have their morning, afternoon, and evening back. And thanks for joining another quick vloggy, reviewy, impromptu thing. And I'll catch everybody on the next one. Cheers.